The letter trembled in my hands, its crisp edges mocking my shattered dreams. We are pleased to offer you admission to Harvard Business School. I didn't bother reading further before ripping it into tiny pieces, watching them scatter across my desk like expensive confetti. My mother's voice still rang in my ears from our phone call 10 minutes ago. Josephine, darling, we need to discuss something important. Your father and I have decided to invest everything into Evelyn's wedding. It's going to be the social event of the season. I'm Joe. Just Joe. The invisible daughter who spent the last 4 years climbing the corporate ladder at Morgan Stanley while perfect Evelyn fluttered from one expensive hobby to another. But Mom, what about my Master of Business Administration? You promised. Oh honey, you're doing fine at your job. Evelyn needs this. Daniel's family expects a certain standard. You understand, don't you? I understood perfectly. I always had. My phone buzzed again, probably another excited message from Evelyn about her 12-tiered wedding cake or custom-designed dress. I let it go to voicemail. Carter. Paul's voice cut through my thoughts. He stood at my office door, concern etched on his face. You okay? You look like you're planning someone's murder. Just my sister's wedding, I muttered, sweeping the torn acceptance letter into my trash bin. Ah, the famous Evelyn's big day. How many horses are pulling her carriage now? 8. Apparently, 6 wasn't enough for the future Mrs. Daniel Reed. Paul whistled low. That's excessive. That's Evelyn. I forced a smile. Hey, want to hear something funny? Remember that Master of Business Administration program I've been killing myself to get into? Harvard. Did you get in? Doesn't matter anymore. Mom and Dad just pulled my funding. Every penny's going to Evelyn's fairy tale wedding. Paul's expression darkened. They can't do that to you. They just did. I stood up, straightening my blazer. 26 years of being the responsible one, the steady one, the one who never asked for anything. And this is what I get. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Grandfather Henry. Unlike my parents, he'd always seen me, really seen me. Hey, Grandpa. Your mother called me, Pumpkin. Told me about their decision. I swallowed hard. It's fine. I'll figure something out. No, it's not fine. His voice carried that steel I'd always admired. Come to dinner tonight. Martha and I need to discuss something with you. After hanging up, I caught my reflection in the office window. Something had changed in my eyes, a hardness I'd never noticed before. Paul was still watching me. What are you going to do? I picked up a family photo from my desk, Mom, Dad, and Evelyn beaming at some charity gala. I wasn't in it. I'd been working late that night, as usual. You know what the funny thing is? I placed the photo face down. Daniel Reed isn't who everyone thinks he is. I've seen things, heard things. He's using Evelyn to get to Dad's business connections. Joe. Don't worry, Paul. I'm not going to do anything crazy. I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. I'm just going to sit back and watch while karma does its job. And maybe help karma along a little bit. The market reports on my screen blurred as I thought about my grandparents' dinner invitation. They'd always been different, always supported me, believed in me. Maybe they had a plan. Or maybe they just wanted to comfort their disappointed granddaughter. Either way, I had decisions to make. Big ones. My phone buzzed one more time, a text from Evelyn, OMG sis. Wait till you see my tiara. Cost more than your yearly bonus. Face blowing a kiss. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my laptop and started researching Daniel Reed's business history. If my family wanted to bet everything on Evelyn's perfect wedding, they should at least know what kind of man they were betting on. Sometimes revenge doesn't need to be loud. Sometimes it just needs to be right. My grandparents' Victorian mansion loomed before me, its familiar warmth a stark contrast to the ice forming in my chest. Through the window, I could see them waiting, Grandfather Henry in his leather armchair, Grandmother Martha arranging teacups with military precision. The door opened before I could knock. "There's my warrior," Grandfather said, pulling me into a bear hug that smelled of pipe tobacco and old books. "I brought wine," I said, holding up the bottle. "Figured we might need it." "Oh, we'll need something stronger than that." Grandmother's eyes glinted with that sharp intelligence I'd inherited. "Your mother called again. She's hosting a small engagement dinner next week. Only 200 guests." I sank into my usual spot on their velvet sofa. "Let me guess, I'm expected to attend." "And contribute to the wedding fund," Grandfather added, his voice tight with controlled anger. "Robert seems to have forgotten who built that company he's so proud of." The tea service clinked as Grandmother poured. "Your father called the bank today, trying to access your trust fund." My head snapped up. "What?" "Don't worry," Grandfather said. "I made sure that money stayed where it belongs, with you." Though Robert seems to think Evelyn's wedding is a family emergency worthy of breaking the terms. A knock at the door interrupted us. Through the frosted glass, I recognized my father's silhouette. "Speaking of the devil," Grandmother muttered, straightening her spine. "Henry, perhaps it's time." "Not yet, Martha. Let's see how this plays out." The door opened, and Robert Carter strode in, all Brooks Brothers suit and corporate authority. "Father, we need to discuss." He stopped short at the sight of me. "Josephine. What are you doing here? Having tea with my grandparents? Or is that being redistributed to Evelyn too? Your attitude isn't helping matters." He loosened his tie. "We're trying to secure Evelyn's future." "The Reeds are." "Are what, Dad? Rich? Connected? Or just better than us Carters?" "Daniel Reed represents opportunities that could transform our family's position in." "Your family's position," I corrected. "I'm just the backup daughter, remember?" Grandfather cleared his throat. "Robert, perhaps you should know something about Daniel Reed's company." "I've done my due diligence, Father. Unlike some people, I understand the importance of proper vetting." My phone buzzed, a text from Paul, "Found something about Reed. Call me ASAP." "Did you know," I said carefully, "that Daniel's last 3 business ventures ended in bankruptcy? Or that his current company is hemorrhaging money?" Father's face reddened. "Those are complex business situations you couldn't possibly understand." "I work in financial analysis, Dad. Understanding complex business situations is literally my job. A job you wouldn't have without our name opening doors. A name I earned by graduating top of my class while Evelyn was busy planning charity galas." Grandmother set down her teacup with a sharp clink. "Robert, that's enough. Jo has earned everything she has. Maybe if you spent less time planning weddings and more time looking at your company's books." "Martha," Grandfather warned, but his eyes were calculating. Father straightened his jacket. "The engagement dinner is next Thursday at 7. Wear something appropriate, Josephine. And try to look happy for your sister." After he left, I slumped back into the sofa. He didn't even ask about Harvard. "No," Grandfather said softly. "But we did." He exchanged a look with Grandmother. "We have a proposition for you, Jo. One that might solve several problems at once." My phone buzzed again, another text from Paul. "Reed's company isn't just failing. It's a front. You need to see these documents." Grandmother reached for a folder on the side table. Before we show you this, you need to understand something. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying your enemies. Sometimes it's about becoming powerful enough that they can't ignore you anymore. I thought about the torn acceptance letter in my office trash can, about years of being overlooked, about Daniel Reed's suspicious perfect timing. "I'm listening," I said, and watched my grandparents smile like chess masters about to reveal their winning move. The documents scattered across my desk painted an ugly picture. Shell companies, fake investors, borrowed names. Daniel Reed's business empire was built on sand and lies. Paul sat across from me, his tie loosened, watching as I processed each damning detail. "The timing's perfect," he said. "He's burning through cash, needs a fresh injection of capital. And along comes my sister. Complete with our family's business connections." My fingers traced the edge of a particularly incriminating bank statement. "Did you verify these sources?" "Triple-checked. Your friend at the SEC came through. Reed's company is 3 months away from total collapse." I leaned back, remembering last night's dinner with my grandparents. Their proposition still rang in my ears: "Take over the company, Joe. We'll back you completely." My phone lit up, Evelyn calling. I let it ring. "You're not going to tell her?" Paul asked. "Not yet. I need to." The office door burst open. Evelyn swept in, a vision in designer white, trailing the scent of expensive perfume. "Why aren't you answering your phone? I've been trying to reach you all morning." I swept the documents into a folder. "Working. Some of us still do that. Don't be bitter, it doesn't suit you." She perched on my desk, oblivious to the papers she was crushing. "Daniel's throwing an engagement dinner tonight. Last-minute thing at Le Bernardin. You have to come." "Have to. Mother insists. Besides," she lowered her voice, "Daniel specifically asked for you to be there. He says you two got off on the wrong foot." Paul caught my eye. I kept my face neutral. "Did he now? He wants to make things right. Show you he's worthy of being part of the family." She grabbed my hands. "Please, Joe. For me." The irony of her begging almost made me laugh. Instead, I squeezed her hands back. "What time?" 8 o'clock. "Wear something nice." She kissed my cheek and floated out, leaving behind a wake of expensive scent and ignored warning signs. Paul waited until her clicks faded. "He knows we're onto him." "Of course he does." I pulled out the folder again. "The question is, what's his play?" "It's a trap." "Obviously." I smiled, but there was nothing warm in it. "The question is, whose trap?" That evening, Le Bernardin's private dining room felt like a stage set for a particularly vicious play. Daniel held court at the head of the table, my parents hanging on his every word. Evelyn sat beside him, glowing with practiced radiance. "Joe," Daniel rose as I approached. "I saved you a seat right here." He gestured to the chair beside him, not next to Evelyn, but on his other side. I sat, noting how he'd positioned me, back to the wall, away from the exits. "Amateur. I hear you've been asking about my business ventures," he said softly, while the others chatted. "Quite thoroughly, in fact. Just looking out for my sister's interests." "Are you?" His smile never reached his eyes. "Or are you just bitter that Mommy and Daddy finally chose their favorite?" My wine glass froze halfway to my lips. "Careful, Daniel. You're showing your cards." "So are you." He leaned closer. "I know about your little investigation. But here's what you don't know, your father's company. It's not as stable as everyone thinks. One wrong move, one whisper of scandal. Well, you're the financial analyst. You do the math. The threat hung between us like poison. You'd destroy my whole family just to save yourself. I'd do whatever it takes to win. His perfect smile returned as he raised his voice. Everyone. I'd like to make a toast. The table fell silent. My phone buzzed, a text from Grandfather Henry. Remember what we discussed. Sometimes the best revenge is patience. Daniel stood, champagne glass glinting. To family. To love. And to new beginnings. I raised my glass with the others, mind racing. Daniel thought he had me cornered, but he'd forgotten something crucial. I'd spent my whole life being underestimated by people exactly like him. Let him think he'd won. Let him believe I'd back down to protect my family. After all, the best traps are the ones your target walks into willingly. The city lights blurred through the taxi window as Paul and I left another late strategy session at the office. 3 days had passed since Daniel's veiled threat at Le Bernardin, and sleep had become a distant memory. You're sure about these offshore accounts? I asked, reviewing the documents on my phone. Positive. But Joe. Paul hesitated. If we expose this, your father's company takes a hit too. The connections run deep. The taxi stopped at a red light, casting a crimson glow across our faces. My grandparents think we should wait, build a stronger case. And what do you think? Before I could answer, my phone rang. Evelyn. I almost ignored it until I saw her follow-up text, emergency. Please. I found her sitting on the steps of our childhood home, mascara streaked down her face. She looked up as I approached, suddenly appearing much younger than her 24 years. I wasn't sure you'd come, she whispered. I'm still your sister. I sat beside her, our shoulders touching. What happened? I found something in Daniel's study. Papers, phone records. She pulled out her phone, hands shaking. He's been talking to Father's board members. Private meetings, secret deals. I thought he was just being supportive, but... My throat tightened. There's more, isn't there? I overheard him on the phone. He said. She swallowed hard. He said once we're married, he'll have enough leverage to force a merger. Something about hostile takeover provisions. The pieces clicked into place. Daniel wasn't just after connections, he was orchestrating a corporate raid, using Evelyn as his Trojan horse. Why didn't you tell Mother and Father? Evelyn's laugh was bitter. I tried. Mother said I was being dramatic. Father said I couldn't possibly understand complex business matters. Sounds familiar. I'm sorry, Joe. She turned to me, eyes glistening. I never realized. All these years, when they dismissed you. Don't. I stood up abruptly. This isn't about that. My phone buzzed, a text from Grandfather Henry, board meeting tomorrow. Daniel's making his move early. Be ready. What are you going to do? Evelyn asked. The question hung in the air as another car pulled up. Daniel stepped out, his perfect smile faltering when he saw us. Darling, I've been looking everywhere for you. He climbed the steps, placing a possessive hand on Evelyn's shoulder. Your mother's worried sick. Is she? I asked. Or is the board meeting tomorrow making you nervous? His smile tightened. I see you've been busy. So have you. Those offshore accounts must take a lot of maintenance. Careful, Josephine. His voice dropped to a whisper. Remember our conversation about family loyalty? Funny you should mention loyalty. I pulled out my phone, showing him the documents Paul had uncovered. These show quite a different story. Daniel's mask slipped for just a moment, revealing something cold and calculating beneath. You really want to play this game? I own half your father's board already. One word from me. Daniel? Evelyn's voice cracked. What's he talking about? He recovered quickly, reaching for her hand. Business matters, sweetheart. Nothing for you to worry about. That's your mistake, I said quietly. You underestimate her, just like everyone else does. But Evelyn's smarter than you think. Aren't you, sis? Evelyn pulled her hand away from Daniel, standing up straighter. I found the papers in your study. I know what you're planning. The facade cracked completely. Daniel's face contorted with rage, but before he could speak, another car approached, my grandparents' Bentley. Perfect timing, I said. Shall we discuss those business matters now? All of us. Daniel's eyes darted between us, calculating odds and exits. This isn't over. No, I agreed, watching him retreat to his car. It's just beginning. Evelyn touched my arm. Joe, I'm scared. What happens now? I thought about the Harvard acceptance letter, about years of being overlooked, about Daniel's threats and my father's blindness. Now we show them exactly what the Carter sisters can do when we work together. The Bentley's doors opened, and I saw determination in my grandparents' faces that matched my own. Tomorrow's board meeting wouldn't go quite as Daniel planned. Sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold, it's served as a family. The boardroom felt like a pressure cooker, with Daniel seated at one end and my father at the other. I sat between my grandparents, watching the power play unfold through the steam of my untouched coffee. The merger proposal is sound, Daniel was saying, his confidence unwavering. Carter Industries needs this injection of fresh capital and new leadership. Fresh capital. Grandfather Henry's voice cut through the murmurs. Like the capital you've been channeling through those offshore accounts. Daniel's smile flickered. I'm not sure what you're implying. Show them, I said quietly, sliding the folders across the polished table. Show them exactly what kind of leadership you're offering. My father snatched the documents, his face darkening as he read. These allegations are true, Evelyn's voice rang out as she entered the room. Mother trailed behind her, looking confused and angry. Evelyn, darling, Daniel stood, this isn't the place. It's exactly the place. She moved to stand beside me. Tell them about the hostile takeover provisions, Daniel. Tell them how you plan to use our marriage to seize control. The board members began whispering among themselves. I watched my father's face transition from confusion to rage. Robert, my mother touched his arm, surely this is just a misunderstanding. Is it? I pulled out my phone, playing the recording Paul had helped me secure. Daniel's voice filled the room, discussing his plans with one of his conspirators. The color drained from Daniel's face. This is a setup. Robert, you know me. Do we? Grandfather stood slowly. Because our investigation shows your company is 3 months from bankruptcy. Your last 3 ventures ended in fraud investigations. And now you're targeting our family. Your family. Daniel laughed, a harsh sound. You mean the family that throws away talent like garbage? That ignores their own daughter's potential while throwing millions at a wedding? He turned to my father. You never even read Joe's business proposals, did you? Too busy planning Evelyn's perfect life. The room fell silent. My father wouldn't meet my eyes. That's enough, Mother said sharply. This is hardly the time. When is the time? I stood, hands flat on the table. When Daniel destroys the company. When Evelyn's life is ruined. When does this family finally wake up? Joe, Paul appeared at the door, tablet in hand. The SEC just confirmed. They're opening an investigation into Reed's companies. Daniel's composure cracked completely. You think you've won? This company's already compromised. Half the board signed deals. Invalid deals, Grandmother Martha interrupted, producing another set of documents. Made under false pretenses. Our lawyers are quite clear on that point. The board members began distancing themselves from Daniel, but I barely noticed. I was watching my father, seeing him truly look at me for the first time in years. "You did all this?" he asked quietly. "Put together the investigation, tracked the fraud." "She did more than that," grandfather said. "She developed a complete restructuring plan for the company. The one you dismissed without reading last year." Daniel made a move toward the door, but security was already there. As they led him out, he caught my eye. "You'll regret this. All of you." "No," Evelyn said firmly. "The only thing I regret is not seeing you for what you are sooner." She turned to me. "Thank you, Joe. For everything." The boardroom slowly emptied, leaving just our family. Mother sat heavily in a chair, while father stared out the window. "The Harvard acceptance," he said finally. "You really earned that on your own." "She earned everything on her own," grandmother said. "Maybe it's time you both saw that." My phone buzzed, a message from Paul. "SEC wants to meet. Ready to finish this?" I looked at my family, Evelyn's grateful smile, my parents' dawning realization, my grandparents' proud expressions. The revenge I'd wanted had transformed into something else, a chance to rebuild, to prove myself, to change the family's future. "Yes," I texted back. "But this time, we do it my way." Sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying your enemies. Sometimes it's becoming the person they should have believed in all along. The SEC investigation had gone public, and Daniel's response was swift and brutal. I stared at the morning headlines splashed across every financial news site. Carter Industries faces fraud allegations, whistleblower claims family conspiracy. My phone hadn't stopped ringing since dawn. Paul was the only call I answered. "He's claiming your family orchestrated the whole thing," Paul said. "That you fabricated evidence to stop the merger because you were jealous of Evelyn's engagement. And people are believing him. Stocks down 30%. Board members are jumping ship." I watched from my office window as reporters swarmed the building entrance. Daniel had played his hand perfectly, turning my revenge into a weapon against my entire family. My father's secretary appeared at my door. "Your father wants to see you. Now." The walk to his office felt like a death march. Inside, I found not just my father, but my mother, Evelyn, and 3 board members I didn't recognize. "Explain yourself," father's voice was ice. "I tried to tell you about Daniel. By destroying our company." Mother cut in. "By dragging our name through the mud." "The evidence is real," I insisted. "The SEC confirmation has been withdrawn," one of the board members said. "Mr. Reed provided documentation showing how your evidence was manipulated." My stomach dropped. "That's impossible. Paul and I verified everything." "Paul Mitchell." Father laughed bitterly. "Your accomplice who mysteriously disappeared this morning after withdrawing all his investments." The room spun. "Paul couldn't have. Wouldn't have. Daniel warned us about him," Evelyn said softly. "How Paul was using you to orchestrate a hostile takeover. You're believing Daniel over me. Still. The facts speak for themselves," father stood. "The board has called an emergency meeting. We're facing potential criminal charges because of your vendetta." "Robert," grandfather Henry's voice came from the doorway. "Think carefully about your next move." "I have," father pulled out a document. "Joe, you're terminated from your position, effective immediately. Security will escort you out." "You can't." "I can and I will. You're no longer welcome at this company or in this family until you make this right." Mother wouldn't meet my eyes. Evelyn stared at her hands. The board members watched with cold satisfaction. Make it right? I laughed, a hollow sound. You mean let Daniel destroy everything grandfather built? Let him marry Evelyn for her shares. Keep pretending we're the perfect family. Get out, father pointed to the door. Before I call security. I turned to leave, then stopped. Grandfather, I'm sorry. I tried to protect the company. I know, pumpkin. His eyes held a strange glint. Sometimes you have to lose everything to win. Security waited outside. As they led me through the lobby, I saw Daniel speaking to reporters, playing the role of the wronged future son-in-law perfectly. My phone buzzed, an unknown number. The message contained only an address and a time, 9 p.m. Come alone. P. Rain started falling as I reached the street. No car, no job, no family. Everything I'd tried to protect was slipping away. Another message arrived, from Grandmother Martha. Remember what we taught you about chess. Sometimes you sacrifice your queen to win the game. I looked back at the building that had been my second home, at the empire my grandfather had built. At the family that had finally shown their true colors. Daniel caught my eye through the crowd and smiled, that same smug smile from the engagement dinner. He thought he'd won. Maybe he had. But grandmother was right about chess. And I wasn't done playing yet. I pulled up the address Paul had sent. If he had betrayed me, I needed to know why. If he hadn't, then maybe this wasn't checkmate after all. The rain soaked through my clothes as I walked away from Carter Industries, leaving behind everything I'd ever known. Sometimes you have to lose it all to see what really matters. And sometimes rock bottom is just the foundation you need to build something new. The address led to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the financial district. Paul waited inside, surrounded by servers and computer screens, his tie loose around his neck. You're late, he said, not looking up from his laptop. Betrayal tends to slow you down. I kept my distance, scanning for exits. Was any of it real, or were you working with Daniel from the start? Neither. He turned one of the screens toward me. Look familiar. Lines of code scrolled past, but I recognized the pattern, Carter Industries' trading algorithm, the one that had made my father's company millions. Daniel didn't just want the company, Paul said. He wanted this. The algorithm your grandfather developed 30 years ago. A door opened behind me. Grandfather Henry stepped out of the shadows, followed by Grandmother Martha. You're early, pumpkin, grandfather said. Daniel's not due for another 10 minutes. My head spun. You're all working together. We needed Daniel to think he'd won, grandmother explained. To make him careless enough to reveal his real plan. Paul typed rapidly. The algorithm was never about trading. Your grandfather built it to identify financial fraud. Daniel's been trying to crack it for years, to hide his illegal operations. And now he's walking into a trap, I whispered, understanding dawning. But my parents, Evelyn, are exactly where they need to be, grandfather said. Sometimes the best way to protect people is to let them face the truth themselves. The warehouse door creaked open. Daniel strode in, followed by two men in expensive suits. Right on time, he smiled, then froze at the sight of my grandparents. What is this? Chess, I said quietly. Sacrificing the queen to win the game. The SEC isn't withdrawing their investigation, Paul announced, still typing. They're expanding it. Your entire network is being exposed right now. Daniel's smile turned predatory. With what evidence? I destroyed everything you had. No, grandfather stepped forward. You destroyed what we wanted you to find. The real evidence was always in the algorithm, tracking every fraudulent transaction you tried to hide. That's impossible. Your algorithm is just a trading program. It's a fraud detection system, I corrected. One that's been watching you for months. Every shell company, every fake investment, every attempt to hack our systems, it recorded everything. Daniel's companions backed away slowly. His facade cracked completely. You think this changes anything? He snarled. Your family's reputation is still ruined. The company will survive, grandmother said firmly. Truth has a way of healing things. My phone buzzed, a message from Evelyn, just saw the news. Daniel's other victims are coming forward. I'm so sorry, Joe. I should have believed you. It's over, Daniel, Paul said, turning his screen to show dozens of news headlines breaking simultaneously. The SEC has everything they need. Daniel lunged for the nearest computer, but security officers emerged from the shadows, my grandfather's most trusted team. Waiting for exactly this moment. As they led Daniel away, he caught my eye one last time. How long? He demanded. How long have you been planning this? I thought about years of being underestimated, of watching, learning, preparing. Since the moment you thought you could use my sister to steal my grandfather's legacy. After he was gone, Paul showed me the final piece, evidence that Daniel had been planning this for years, targeting other companies the same way. Your father's seeing this too? I asked. Grandfather nodded. Along with the board. Sometimes people need to learn the hard way who they can really trust. My phone lit up again, father calling. I let it ring. Aren't you going to answer? Grandmother asked. No, I said, watching the sunrise through the warehouse windows. They need to understand what it feels like to wait, to wonder if they've lost something precious forever. Paul squeezed my shoulder. What now? I thought about the Harvard acceptance letter, about revenge and justice, about family and trust. Now, I smiled, we rebuild. But this time, we do it right. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just winning the game, it's changing the rules entirely. The Carter Industries boardroom felt different now. Sunlight streamed through the windows, illuminating the empty chair where Daniel had once sat, plotting his takeover. My father stood at the head of the table, looking older than I remembered. The SEC investigation is complete, he said, sliding a folder across the polished surface. Daniel Reed will be facing federal charges. I didn't touch the folder. Is that all you wanted to tell me? Joe. He struggled with the words. The board has reviewed your restructuring proposal. The one I should have read last year. And they want to implement it immediately. He paused. Under your leadership. The words hung in the air between us. Through the glass walls, I could see Evelyn waiting outside, nervously shredding a paper cup. Grandfather's algorithm, I said quietly. It wasn't just about catching fraud, was it? No. He sank into his chair. It was about finding the right person to lead this company. Someone who could see past appearances, who understood both numbers and people. And you never thought that person could be me. I was wrong. The admission seemed to cost him physically. About many things. The door opened. Mother entered, followed by my grandparents. She carried a familiar envelope, my Harvard acceptance letter, carefully pieced back together. We can still make this work, she said. The Master of Business Administration program isn't what I want anymore. I stood, straightening my jacket. Neither is revenge. Grandfather Henry smiled knowingly. What do you want, pumpkin? I thought about the past months, the anger, the plotting, the satisfaction of bringing Daniel down. But mostly, I thought about what I'd learned about myself. I want to build something, I said. Not just run what's already here. And I want to do it my way. Paul appeared in the doorway, tablet in hand. The new trading platform is ready. Should I proceed with the launch? I caught Grandmother Martha's eye. She nodded slightly, understanding what I was about to do. Actually, I said, I have a different proposal. I pulled up the business plan I'd been working on secretly, not just a restructuring, but a complete reimagining of Carter Industries. A merger of old and new, tradition and innovation. 2 companies, I explained. The existing Carter Industries under your leadership, Dad. And a new digital finance division, built around grandfather's algorithm, under mine. Splitting the company. Father frowned. No. Strengthening it. Different approaches, shared resources, mutual protection. I turned to Evelyn. And I want you involved. She blinked in surprise. Me? Your social skills, my financial knowledge. Together, we could build something neither of us could create alone. Mother started to object, but grandfather raised his hand. It's perfect. The past and future, working in harmony. The board won't like it, father warned. The board doesn't have a choice, grandmother said firmly. Henry and I still hold controlling interest. And we're backing Joe's plan. Paul pulled up the contracts on his tablet. Everything's ready. Just need signatures. I watched my father struggle with the decision. Finally, he picked up the stylus. You're not doing this for revenge anymore, are you? He asked. No. I smiled. I'm doing it because it's right. For the company, for this family, and for me. One by one, they signed, father, mother, Evelyn, my grandparents. As Paul processed the documents, I felt a weight lift that I hadn't even realized I was carrying. To new beginnings. Evelyn offered tentatively. To building something better, I corrected. Outside the boardroom windows, the city stretched endlessly, full of possibilities. I thought about the torn acceptance letter, now carefully restored but no longer needed. Sometimes the best path forward isn't the one you originally planned. Sometimes it's the one you create yourself. Ready to get started? Paul asked. I looked at my family, broken, healing, changing, and felt something stronger than revenge, hope. Yes, I said. I think I finally am.